Hello London hello London folks, welcome back. This is a very short video that I'm making because I've just found out the solution for a problem that I thought would be plausibly impossible in Blender, or at least very complicated, but actually I found a way and I've got it. I'm gonna show the process here. So I've just found a solution, so I'm kind of happy about that. I was just experimenting around. So the problem is the following. You know that method, maybe you don't. Well, here I have some wrong things going on. Let's take the fresh file. Okay, this is not fresh. This one. Okay, so what the problem is that I want a new rest pose for the fingers. So you see, I wanted, sorry, not rest pose. I want this new rest position and rest pose for the deformed bones and for the fingers mesh, the hand mesh. The problem, of course, changing the rest pose for the bones is very simple. It's just on pose mode, you go here, select the bones, and whatever you apply, selected as only the selected, but that's not what I want. I want to really have a different mesh rest position. So this is the rest position for the mesh, but I want the mesh to be like that. So then there is, you know, that technique, that method, which means that you usually duplicate the armature, then this on the, you see, you have that different different pose that I'm doing here, right? If I reset here, this is the the rest pose for this hand, okay? But then I want to have this pose, which you can do anywhere on the anything on the card. You can change this thing. Then we're gonna make some trick with the armature. Then just reproducing the method, but I found a way to solve my own problem regarding this. So it's a complicated thing. So I duplicate that, and then we have this armature 0.01. Okay, so duplicate. Then what we do, we delete the previous. No, we apply the previous one. And so this is very obscure because we don't see, I know what is happening, but I cannot explain right now. So it's not the purpose. And then we, then these stills look crazy, but what we do, just go on pose mode and we select whatever the bones that we want, just for, would be these ones, not the wrist, not this hand, and there is some mechanism bone. No, okay, so then we just apply as selected bone, and so the hand mesh gets its new position. The problem with that for my character, for my project, is that this will disrupt the rest of the mesh, because I have very different rest positions for whatever happening there. So this was showed on the previous rig havoc, totally my rig, and it's not very good. I was looking for ways to solve it, and definitely I found a way. So the problem is that I decided that I needed to, yes, the problem is this operator, these operations, they would apply all these things to the mesh, and you see the rest position for the mesh of my car for the foot, for the leg, is that, and there are some slightly on the rest of the body because of the rig, and that's okay. But when using this, it's not okay, because then if I don't match those things, it will affect all the rig, all the mesh, all the rig will be very disruptive. And so you see, this is a rest position, this is the rest pose for the mesh, right? And then the solution to my problem, because I don't want to be fixing all those, changing all those bones just to use these operations on just a singular mesh part. So what I found out is what we can do to solve this. You see, I want okay, so this is the rest pose for the armature. You can verify this on the skeleton. Okay, rest position. So if we go on pose mode, rest position, that would be the equivalent of edit mode for the armature object, right? So no, I want to change the mesh, sorry, and the bones. So for this I need to be on pose mode. Probably there might be other way, but so the trick consists in posing the way I want, right? This is the part of the mesh I want to work, so I'm gonna create a vertex group so that I will apply those changes in the armature modifier just for this part of the mesh. So how does this work? So everything else will be safe from this very disruptive method, which can cause wreak havoc on everything. I wish there was simpler methodology for all that, but okay, so I need to share this because it's very important. So okay, so what I do now, I create a vertex group here. I'm not gonna complete the whole thing because there's a mirror modifier. Probably I'd create a group left and group right, even though the group right would be empty because it's a mirror modifier. Mirrored mesh just need empty. Okay, let's do this at once. That will be the right way to do, right? So I get here, and for the left, okay, it's already assigned. Is that all the mesh that I want? Yes, everything there is already select, just to make sure. Fine. And then assign. Then the right side is okay, it's empty. So I get out of here. We go on the mesh object. Maybe the gloves, clothes, something that is around will be affected too. So yeah, so this will not be the final version. We'll check for this. Maybe this is annoying about another thing annoying about this method. We have to sometimes reproduce it for each of the mesh objects. So fortunately for this localized use, probably the only meshes which will be affected will the body mesh, the gloves mesh, and the sleeves mesh. And even perhaps I don't even need to make that because I have a better way to change the mesh on the rest position with some snap to face nearest, right? This new option, snap to option, which is great. So very fantastic one. And then with maybe that, maybe not, whatever. So maybe we don't need to do it for the clothes. They will manage the way I'm making the clothes, so they'll manage themselves on a different process. Okay, we'll see that in a moment. So now the trickiest part is the following. Instead of doing the Shift D on the armature, I'm gonna create a new armature modifier. Yes, a new armature modifier targeting the armature. Okay, then that's happened, but then we get our group left, and then it's the same thing, except, well, I'll put it below. So it's currently stacking the deforms, right? Stacking the transforms, stacking the deforms at least, but they are equivalent, except that here we use the group again, the same thing, but we do temporarily an invert. And so what's happened now is that I need this one enabled probably all the time. It's my original armature, and this is the one that is just working on this group left for the original side. The mirror side we don't bother. I hope this is fine. And so same here, but inverted. And this means that This one is solving the deforms for the hand, and this one is deforming, is enable the deforms, the armature deform, to everything else except the hand. The bones are working everywhere, but they cannot use this armature to stack with the hand. So now I have individual here for the hand and individual here for all the body. So I'm splitting the deformed, and so what I'm gonna do now is that I'm gonna, instead of duplicating this one, I'm gonna, the main one for the body, I'm gonna duplicate, I think this was correct, okay, this one for this. So what's happening now is that this is going crazy, but hold on. Then I can apply this thing, the previous one, as the method tells. Now I'm just in doubt is if it matters if we have to put them before or they can be applied that way, in that order. Okay, let's apply the older one. Now let's bring this one before. Let's hide. Okay, so it's applied. This one we need to maintain as it is. And so what we see now is that by having applied that other after, it doesn't matter after this one. You see that it doesn't matter where I put the other one. But if I hide it, the mesh stops going crazy. So what I need to do here, because I'm not sure exactly if that will work, maybe I did something slightly different. I will maintain this enabled, or maybe not, but we can Control Z if it doesn't work. So usually it's normal that the mesh is going crazy. So now I'm gonna select only these bones, and I'll go back. Oh, it must be on pose mode, of course. And then I apply selected bones as rest pose. Alright, so apparently things are right. And you see there's the problem of the inversion, right? So now what we do is that if I start to play with this, you see there are changes. So what I need to do here is perhaps I delete this target. So the whole mesh now is working for the hand, and I can also disable this or delete this target, doesn't matter. I can totally delete this one for the hand, this armature which was the one for the hand. So, and here we take this off because we're not using target anymore here. And now if you see my rest position for both the mesh and the armature bones is correct. They have been changed locally, I mean just for this vertex group region, right? Just for this region of the hand region. For the opposite side, it seems to be absolutely symmetrical, so it worked. I don't need these vertex groups anymore because their purpose was already employed. I was able to reset, to do all this. If I reset the pose, okay, it doesn't reset because I have changed this. And look, for the rest of the mesh, my rig didn't got completely disrupted and everything is working normally. I hope so. Yes, so nothing was disrupted because I've just used that employed this thing for the the mesh region. All the rest didn't suffer the wreak havoc, plausible wreak havoc that would happen. So what I need here to complete, because some stuff could have been suffered, and these are the gloves mesh, as you see, and the cloth sleeves mesh. So the sleeves mesh, let's hide this for a moment. This, okay, this probably didn't, yeah, maybe they suffered. They don't have shrink wrap. I'm not sure if this means they suffered something, but just in case we pick them, how to do that? We what the snap nearest surface, something like that, and and voila, this is the magic of this thing used on that way. And since this is using, yeah, maybe then I have to make some manual fix, because then it's using solid modifier, armature mod. Yeah, so the problem here is that when I applied that thing, I forgot to include perhaps this thing, so I would have to manage to do the same thing or some similar effect here, depending on the importance of the mesh. So this sleeves is kind of easy to fix, so I could fix this way. However, for the gauntlets, the gloves, it was not so fortunate. So maybe, yeah, this would be still the hand. So this, if I included, yeah, in this case, I'd have probably to create a vertex group for all this. So this is still a mystery. I don't know exactly how to solve it, but it will be the same process, right? Except the gloves don't matter the rest. I can easily remake all this thing with but it was just a duplicate of the, you see, and then the rest was just not even texture yet. But if there were textures there, I would be in trouble. I'll have to fix it. So I would have to make the duplication, because these are rigged to the armature, right? To the same armature. So I'll probably have to make similar things with a slightly different vertex group. But here I'm afraid this technique won't work very well, because now I have to manage to get all these things snapped back to the hand. This will deform very much this. It's going to the wrong fingers. This yeah, this is probably very difficult to solve like the sleeves were. Probably this is not gonna work very well. Yeah, too risky to, yeah, that's all get messed up. Too much for Blender to be smart about all this warping, vertex, everything. So yes, I know how to use the method for the problem now is just that I have already set the position for the on pose mode. I've already set the rest pose, so I already did that operator, and this should be done after all the meshes, the body and the sleeves and the gloves, or the body and the gloves, whatever, are already have passed through the same process. So duplicate, and then I'm not exactly sure how it would work for the gloves, but it should be the same thing. Just got a different vertex group, maybe another for the, yeah, so have to create vertex group just for that. Yeah, so that's kind of annoying, but fortunately I can totally delete these gauntlets if I were to continue in these conditions and remake the gloves from this. This is not, I really didn't work on the mesh, just added some colors, material colors, so you know the process. This magic thing saved lots of time indeed. Very great things if used properly. So you see, this was able to be fixed easily, though not the gloves, because these were exactly the region which was highly affected by these deforms, these applying deforms, right, from the armature modifier. So that's it, folks. That's what I wanted to show. So it worked for the hand, and it didn't disrupt everything else. So I'm recording this, so this solution might be available online. It's very, very tricky. Never see any. There are already very few tutorials and information about this method, and now I've seen an alternative way to make it locally, let's say regionally, just so for yes, and it's not perfect yet because there was still the other relational mesh objects to consider. But for the other clothes that make not part of that region, nothing, and for the body elsewhere and everything else, nothing took care, and nor the armature. So that's it, folks. Thanks for watching again. See you next time. I'll continue rigging the fingers with the as I was doing with the auto I key things. Where is that tool? This is always complicated. It's tool, active tool, but in pose mode, of course. Then I have, just to remember, some shortcuts. Shift X, Shift Alt X for auto A key, and then I can make some. Yeah, now I have changed the rest pose, so I cannot show this very, very well. But yeah, then my plan here, just if you're curious about it, this is be sort of the starting rest pose for the mesh. I'm gonna start to work the mesh from this, and this will be the rest position for the mesh, something like that. And now I'm gonna this will be much better in my, I believe, this is experimental, for this the fingers. They have volume loss already, but then I reshape them, remodel them from this position, rest position, and then I hope that as I move the fingers on pose mode like this, their volume loss will be more logical to happen, because here we would expect to have more stretch, more squashing of the flesh, right? And so yes, I'll remodel that. Then I'll make mechanism bones for the fingers, since those reds are deformed bones, so that there's already one here for the wrist, but it's useless right now. I intended perhaps to use for some feature, I don't know what, maybe some leverage, I don't know, maybe I'll just delete it, but I'll use mechanism bones such as this one to have a straight fingers. These bones will be bone constrained to the mechanism bone, the mechanism chains, all these 4 finger bones, even this one on the dorsal of the hand, and they will be sort of controller bones. Yes, they're not exactly mechanism bone, there will be control bones for the auto I key, so that I could start the auto I key with the bones stretching, and the stretching would be the starting rest pose, although this is the rest position for the bones and the mesh. And this stretching mechanism or control bones is that would allow the auto I key to start working from, because there are no pole target. This means that these bones will be able to bend in easier way in both directions without troubling with posing. Well, there will be some complications, but so that's why I need a rest pose that is different from the rest position. So lots of complicated features, but feasible, and most importantly, now I found out how to remake a rest position for the mesh and the armature bones. So this, right? We thought of this causing wreaking havoc to all the rest of the mesh and the armature. So this was great, and now it is recorded. I should make a tutorial about that at some point, but that's it, folks. See you next time. Happy blending and good luck in your projects.